Among Parashat Balak's many highlights are the opening words of Ma Tovu, the morning blessing that begins our Saturday Minyan service, and the prayer that has ushered us into the morning liturgy on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Balak is also our most fantastical portion. We read about the king of Moab who summons the pagan prophet Balaam to curse the people of Israel. On his way to the Israelite camp, Balaam is admonished by a talking donkey, an intriguing scene that has engaged students of Torah for millennia. There's another reason that I'm drawn to this portion, and it's particularly relevant for us this Shabbat. The chapter before Balaam consecrates the Israelites with the familiar Ma Tovu blessing, he notices the uniqueness of the Israelite people encamped before him. In Balaam's first oracle, he observes, "As I see them from the mountaintops, there is a people that dwells apart, not reckoned among the nations." True throughout time, for better or worse, the Jewish people have often been perceived apart from the rest of humanity. In common parlance, the Jews are frequently referred to as the chosen people, writes my friend, Rabbi Leah Citron Nelson. Over the course of history, chosenness has been characterized both as a burden and as an honor. Some interpret chosenness as a cause for perceived inferiority, while others understand it to be an indication of superiority. According to one Orthodox scholar, it's not that Jews alone knew God, nor is it that God's covenant with the children of Israel means they are any more righteous than others. Nor did any of the major strands of Jewish thought ever see Jewish chosenness as a privilege. It was and is a responsibility. We need not look any further than this week's Haftarah portion. Another familiar text, this one from the prophet Micah. It's what is etched on the eastern wall of our large sanctuary. "It's been told you, O mortal, what is good, and what the Eternal requires of you, only this, to do justly and love mercy and walk humbly with your God." There is great dissonance between the ease at which this teaching rolls off the tongue and how difficult it is to actually hold ourselves to such divine standards throughout our days. However, to walk in God's ways means to commit our hearts, souls, and might to the work of justice, acting as a light unto the nations, modeling exceptional behavior for all the world. This too has historically been the mission of the United States in positioning itself as a leader among nations. Albeit differently this year than we've ever done before, this weekend will commemorate the day 244 years ago when America's founders declared our nation's independence. There in Congress on July 4th, 1776, the leaders pledged these famous words, that all men are created equal, they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Like in the prophetic works, here too, many recognize great dissonance between the ease at which this oft-cited line from the Declaration rolls off the tongue and the injustices so many are experiencing in our country today. Sadly, the American reality for too many is not one of liberty and happiness. There is work to be done to fully realize the founders' stated vision for our country, and it is up to each of us to merit their words coming true. As guarantors of the prophetic tradition, you and I can change the world. In his work, Religion in a Free Society, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel reflects on what he calls the delinquency that filled the prophets of Israel with dismay. He explains the prophets' breathless impatience with injustice may strike us as hysterical. We ourselves witness continually acts of injustice, manifestations of hypocrisy, outrage, misery, but we rarely get indignant or overly excited. But if such deep sensitivity to evil is to be called hysterical, What name should be given to the deep callousness to evil which the prophet bewails? In other words, if we think the prophet's antics are so absurd, what then do we say about the grave injustices they're calling out? Heschel's response to his own question brings us back to an understanding of our chosenness. The capacity to sense the depth of misery caused by our own failures is a fact which no subterfuge can elude. As a free being, the Jew must accept an enormous responsibility. The first thing a Jew is told is you can't let yourself go. Get into harness, carry the yoke, the kingdom of heaven. The wise Rabbi Jonathan Sacks teaches, God asked great things of the Jewish people, and in so doing made them great. Further, to be a Jew is to be asked to give, to contribute, to make a difference, to help in the monumental task that has engaged Jews since the dawn of our history, to make the world a home for the divine presence, a place of justice, compassion, human dignity, and the sanctity of life. So what can this week's Torah portion offer in terms of a pathway for pursuing justice today? The answer I'd like to lift up for us lies not in the Torah text, but in a verse from Psalms that our rabbis tacked on later in crafting the Ma Tovu prayer that we recite in our morning liturgy. The prayer's penultimate line reads, "As for me, may my prayer come to you." But as Rabbi Yoel Kahn teaches, it has long been read poetically with midrashic hyperliteralism. Va'ani tefilati lecha. I am my prayer to you. Therefore, it's not in the words of our mouths, but rather in our deeds, in all that we represent and do, that we welcome the divine presence on earth and partner with God in the unfolding of creation, working to make this country and the world places of justice and compassion. Only then will we fulfill both our biblical responsibility to serve as a light unto the world, as well as embody the vision of America's founders, that we become champions of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all. Wishing you a safe, wonderful weekend, and a Shabbat Shalom.